And we're live. Hello and welcome to Hex Therapy Live. I'm your host, Maddie ALLin, and I'm really looking forward to our discussion tonight about sudden wealth syndrome and all things Hex and Pulse. As a review of what we're looking at in this sudden wealth syndrome situation, if you bought into Hex 1 year ago, you're up 64x. That's 6,400%. And if you bought when it first came out, you're up 268x or 26,000%. So we've got a lot of people in here who are wanting to know how to manage their emotions and their thoughts when it comes to sudden wealth syndrome, and lots of other therapy techniques will be covered. But first off, let's go through the intro. Welcome. We've just had some of the best episodes ever this week. On Tuesday, we had Quant Gang. That's definitely an all-time hit with a 4-hour video that we did on Tuesday night with Wales Only, Kareem, and Future Us. And then yesterday, I did a pop-up video with Johnny Chaos called ALLin and Chaos in the Afternoon. And we went on for a couple of hours and had a really great show. And so shout out to everybody who's been coming on the streams. And another announcement, so you can get your Pulse Hex Vegas conference fundraising tickets now at pulsehex.eventbrite.com. And we have gamified this a little bit to where only 36 tickets will be available each week for about the next 30 weeks leading up to the event in March 6th through 9th. And we're going to be doing every other week. Tony and I will do a stream that will explain the progress and planning. And right now, everybody can tell that the community, it's growing so much that those tickets, you don't want to count on being able to get them later on. And so that kind of incentivizes people, because otherwise, right, the most rational thing to do would be to just put your money in Hex and wait until the last minute to buy a ticket. But since we do think that those will run out, there being only 1,369 tickets available for our 3-day conference, then it's an opportunity for people to get them now. And so that's pretty exciting. Let's see. So first off, I want to say hi to everybody in the chat. Crypto Gains Club, Marcavelli, Frank, Reggie Bone, Alan, Uncle Larry. How's everybody doing tonight? Lion Wings, Disco Chuck, Typed Emotion, Trustless. So go ahead and ask your therapy questions in the chat. And hello to you, Secret Agent, Piston Broke, Caleb Remington, Cheetah Western. Good to see everybody. David says, what up, Hexicans? Ready to get my therapy on in advance of the Pulse launch. And when I realize Pulse ARB bot sets the liquidity pool of PHEX to open at 25 cents. Well, it's no lie that people have pressured me into making sure that I get cornrows when, I guess, EHEX hits 25 cents, which, I mean, we're not that far away. There have been 3 different weeks in Hex where the price went up 20% per day, every day for a whole week. And there was one day when the price doubled in one day. And so we see this, these fundamentals because of the game theory right? And because of the intentional low liquidity. Low liquidity, sure, it's one way you can tell if a coin is a scam, but if the point of the coin is to be a store of value, and if people value that so much that they're unwilling to go into an automated market maker pool to provide liquidity, then what you're dealing with is something that is simply scarce and not a scam. It's a false classification if people have looked at volume and only defined, coins with high volume as those that are legitimate, right? That's why we get all the fake volume that occurs on centralized exchanges, because that's how they basically value their business, right? By the transaction fees. So if they're creating fake transactions and feeding themselves money, then they can get their company more highly valued when they want to sell out. And that's why they promote this false narrative of liquidity mattering, although it does matter, right? Like in a lot of cases, but it depends on the investment. And, something being a Ponzi scheme or not, all comes down to whether there's real demand for something and whether it has good product market fit. And so when we look at Hex as a mechanism for saving for your future and controlling your own saving behavior by locking into a smart contract, that's something that hasn't existed before. And so I think we'll continue to see more and more game theory and emergent properties come out of Hex, which is another reason why I like doing this show and talking about Hex in general with lots of different guests, is because there's much more to discover on the psychological front than in any other crypto, and than in many other even therapy or behavior change topics. So that's right. Smash the likes and subscribe if you think that this content will be helpful for you, or if you're a fan of Quant Gang or Hex Therapy or the new Pulse Hex TV or the next Hex conference that will be aired online. My PulseChain price predictions. I'm really looking at this from more of a technical perspective, that I don't hear anybody in the Hex streaming community really talking deeply about how these liquidity pools are going to play out in terms of shifting value from the Ethereum blockchain onto the Hex blockchain. Onto the Pulse blockchain. So just like I was, one of the only crazy people who was predicting that the Hex OA would put billions into Pulse sacrifice, right? I think I'm kind of making a prediction here too, that everything is going to be able to pump way more, but especially P-Hex. I like P-Hex. I like E-Hex too. It's better, if I have to diversify, I'd rather diversify in things that I can trust because they're part of the Hex smart contract. Let's see. If you guys haven't checked out HexStreamers.com, that's where you can find 24-hour coverage of Hex. You can see Whales Only streaming every day on multiple channels and all the other Hex shows that are out there. Good to see Ash, Senior Hex. Our bot can start P-Hex at $10, please. Exactly. Should I keep my wealth more private? I've felt some friends I thought would be proud and excited have been a little resentful and jealous. It has been upsetting. Excellent question, Randy. Yes, that is one of the fundamental things that's recommended when it comes to experiencing sudden wealth, and having that be part of a healthy outcome for your relationships and for your mental health. comes down to being more intentional and slowing down your need to tell everybody. And that's why I really recommend, coming into these chat rooms, right? It's places that are trusted, and, connecting with other Hexicans, to, people who are also experiencing the same thing. I mean, because you're going to find that your life has a lot of changes when you experience sudden wealth, and being able to time lock your money is going to take the edge off of that in some ways, but then in other ways, it's going to magnify the situation, because you're not going to be able to make all the same mistakes people made when they got suddenly wealthy in Bitcoin, i.e. selling too early. And that will continue to pump the price, right? That many of us have time locked. So that's yeah, one of the first suggestions is don't tell everybody. I tell people one by one who are trusted, and kind of see how that goes. And, think about different ways that you can make that kind of more of a positive thing, I guess. So it really depends on who the people are in your life. And what I would recommend is that you look to see if you can add people or spend extra time with people who can keep you grounded. You should have a mixture of people who know that maybe you've had some sudden wealth, and people who don't, right? And the ways that you can even keep yourself grounded can be very powerful. So for me, I look for things that I've always done that feel like they're part of my personality. Now, I also know it's part of my environment, because personality isn't just one static thing. It's kind of a reflection of what our environment is, the people, places, and things that create our environment. Our personality is kind of a reflection of that. But for me, it's like, I might go to, a clothing store and buy some pants that are 80% off, because even though I can afford to pay full price, it's the 80% off pants that make me feel good, that give me, I guess, nostalgia of how I've always acted. And so there are going to be things like that you can do. Not suddenly upgrading your standard of living is another thing that can help you adjust more smoothly into the sudden wealth situation. Typed emotion, you're saying that your friend group gets smaller but stronger. Live the life you want to live. Many people's egos can't handle how easily you've gotten success. Yeah, and that's a great point, because some people's reaction is going to be a reflection of them being angry at the monetary system that they live in, right? And so your success, I mean, part of understanding how that could upset somebody that you care about is really tapping in to how the whole fiat system upsets them. And most people don't have a good outlet for that. And so it can be really easy for them to, to have hate or anger, right? Or disgust, right? Or to just not be impressed by money, even though to some people, money can be a really good thing. To other people, they have a really bad relationship with money, and that can be influenced by, by their life events and the people that they have learned, right, the relationship with money from. In some ways, we've talked on here before about how, the inflation system, where money gets taken by the government printing more and more, that in some ways can be compared to slavery, right? And Whales Only and Kareem and I have had really productive conversations about that. And so I think, whoever is experiencing any type of exploitation because their time and labor and energy, which are scarce resources, their time is being monetized by the government instead of being monetized by themselves. And so that's part of what cryptocurrency was meant to address. And that's part of what Hex addresses better than Bitcoin and Ethereum. And so my prediction is that we're moving into a world of abundance that's created by technology growing at an exponential pace. And so that's what's allowed exponential amounts of money to be printed, even when in past civilizations that would have caused a collapse. I don't think we're getting the collapse that everybody has been predicting for a long time. And I think that's probably why, is because there are trillions of dollars of more value being able to be created automatically by machines and by humans getting more organized. And I think the more that medicine actually, in addition to technology, the more that medicine advances, the more humans will be able to access their prefrontal cortex, which is the part of your brain that's involved in problem solving and planning, inhibiting emotions, doing all your creative work, and really innovating, right, at a group level, coordinating. And so that's why I always recommend to people to take Omega 369. And I know a lot of you have. It makes me so happy when I see people commenting and saying that they're taking Omega 369, because I know that for me, it changed my life and that it could change your life too when it comes to insulating the electrical wires in your prefrontal cortex and in your brain in general. It's supposed to be made up of 25% omega-3. And so a lot of people don't get that because they don't have enough fish in their diet, and because the omega-3 doesn't work its way up the food chain like it used to, from wild grasses and fish all the way up to the things humans would eat, like cattle and fish. So cavemen and cavewomen had lots of other problems, but they were not short on omega-3 like about 90% of US adults are. So that's something that can really help people with their general mental health, is to have a higher functioning prefrontal cortex. But also, as people continue to live in a world that theoretically can become more and more efficient and more abundant, then people are going to have to switch from a scarcity mindset to, or they're going to get to switch from a scarcity mindset to an abundance mindset. And that's going to change a lot, actually. And so I think that sudden wealth through crypto will continue to be more and more common. I mean, we have a lot of people here who 2 years ago put in $1,000 and now they're multimillionaires. And we haven't really seen any signs that this is going to slow down, because right now there's only about 40 to 80,000 people participating in the system. And this is how much economic energy is really being created, right? So whether you include the OA being the strongest of strong hands and the market maker that is being altruistic and creating new whales, right? And that's then the market cap of Hex is over $100 billion. And so that's like more than a third of what Ethereum is. And it's what catching up to Bitcoin as well. Or, if you only count the market cap as what the origin address does not have, that would still be 5 billion. And that would still be, well, I guess that's the liquid Hex. There's another, 5 or 10% Hex that's locked, but that's the whole point, is people are going to have to deal with this more and more. And so yeah, I would, when you're thinking about other people's egos and what causes them to not understand this unwealth, I would say giving them the benefit of the doubt and recognizing that they're probably mad at the system more than they are at you makes a lot of sense. There you go, Purple. Joker and Baby Shark sent me here. Hey, I appreciate that. Thanks for rating the channel, you guys. You guys rock. I love the Hex Joker. Crypto Gymrat, how's it going? I appreciate you. Yeah, we'll have to do a live stream here one of these days. And I agree. PulseChain is a Hex pumpamental. Let's see. Let me catch up on the chat here. Randy, I understand how you feel, says Piston Broke. Your friends see your wealth as a possible division, upsetting their status quo. Well, that could be another factor too, right? If people have already become wealthy in other ways, then there creates a conflictual dynamic where I think it's harder for people in power and who are already rich to see the value of Hex, because they already have access to investments that they believe in because they were manipulated in their favor. I think PLS low-key has more pumpamentals than people realize. Several of them will be the same ones as Hex and deflationary. That's an excellent comment. And I tend to agree with you that Pulse is still underrated. And one of the reasons that I think it's underrated, other than the points that you make here about it being deflationary and having some of the same network effects as Hex, is really going to be the price action. It's going to be the liquidity pools that are designed to go up. I mean, sometimes I almost think of it as like liquidity pools need pairs. And if you have identical pairs, that's going to be really explosive if one of the chains has all the value to start with and the other chain is superior. I think that it's going to be like, electricity switching over. Like it's going to be that powerful that it's going to blow people away, and it's going to redefine how people think about economics, liquidity pools, crypto, everything. I think this is going to be like a one-time thing where you're not going to be able to copy over a system state and make significant improvements on it more than once. It's like you have the original version on Ethereum, and then you have the version on Pulse, and the version on Pulse I think will extract almost all the value out of the Ethereum network very quickly. I think people can change their minds about Ethereum when they see a copy of it working way better. And it all comes down to game theory. That's what makes it all possible. It's not just speculation or anything like that. It's making accurate predictions based on economics and psychology. And so we'll see who's right. These are empirical questions with real answers. Hex is the digital philosopher's stone. Interesting. Good stuff. Wow. Super smart chat here. PLS 1 Senpai Christmas. Interesting. Hex strongly divided my old friend group financially. I suppose it was going to happen eventually, but this was fast. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. It's normal for people to lose half of their best friends every 7 years to moving and life events, different things. So, but having at least 5 close friends shows major health benefits. I mean, we're talking like having less than 5 close friends is worse for you than smoking an extra pack of cigarettes a day or drinking an extra glass of hard alcohol. So a close friend would be defined because it's social psychology and they have to have something to define it, would be having a deep conversation with somebody at least once every 2 weeks is how the researchers defined it. Now, you can define your friendships however you like, but based on behavioral activation and different social psychology measures, that is what they used, and that is what people should aim for. That way it doesn't put so much pressure on just one person, and people can, schedule calls with people that they know, or meetups, go out for coffee, or get on the Telegram chat, whatever it is. The more you can have deep conversations with people and look at friendship as a two-way street where you're helping each other and, following social cues, then you'll be able to make new friends. Some of the tips in order to create healthy friendships includes, targeting people who have common interests, and instead of just going to a bar, finding other activities that you might have in common with people. Healthy activities, exercising, talking about crypto, talking about other hobbies, right? Taking a class, cooking class, or, exercise class. Lots of community colleges have adult continuing education. Could learn a new dance, right? That's pretty cool. Good way to meet people. And then also looking at your old friendships that have lapsed and seeing where those people are also interested in maybe rekindling your friendships is another strategy that people can use. We should not expect, Ray says, we should not expect profit because this fork is an experiment and the creator has warned no expectation. Mostly you should not expect profit for mental health reasons. Be prepared for the worst. Okay, yeah, everybody needs to take their own perspective. I recognize that a lot of people are overly optimistic and that could let them down. So far in Hex, I think no matter how conservative people have tried to be, it's been hard for people to imagine the price going up so much. And I think that will continue to happen. Although this is not financial advice and I don't know what will happen, and I'm personally prepared for any outcome. I think most people, they want to have a balance, but that's right for them by talking to their own financial advisor or by managing their own expectations and emotions. I think for a lot of people, if you are time locking your money in Hex, or if you have sacrificed for Pulse, then now you have multiple weeks maybe to prepare yourself by doing some mental health activity, right? Whether that's practicing the action verb of self-esteem by complimenting yourself and having that conversation, just like you to have a conversation with somebody else, having a conversation with yourself to go over, give yourself one compliment a day, speak highly of yourself, write it down, or, set a reminder on your phone for the same time every day to pump yourself up, and having a combination of self-esteem and self-care, such as exercising, eating your favorite meal, eating something healthy, taking your omega-3 and vitamins. There are a lot of ways that we do take care of ourselves, and then by reflecting on that as an active process, when you combine self-esteem and self-care, then that can really change any negative beliefs that the sick financial monetary system or the negative side of the world has convinced you of subconsciously, and then people tend to become much more resilient and have more of a baseline positivity. Whales only, it's so good to see you. I was enjoying your stream last night in Spanish, even though I don't understand Spanish. It was really cool to hear you stream. And then today, for multiple hours, you are the MVP of Hex streaming. And I think everybody knows it. And we really appreciate how hard you're working to educate everybody. Let's see. Thanks, Maddie. My pleasure. Cheers. The people around me will notice the lifestyle inflation. It's inevitable if I want to live the way I want. Sure. Yeah. And that's, that's your decision and something that people can experiment with and find the right balance for themselves. Sure. I mean, it really depends on your subculture. A lot of people would be very excited for you for being able to maybe retire, being able to finance your dreams. Hello, Tin Top, Crypto Gains Club. What happened to Toby One? I'm not sure. If you know something, let me know. I know he released his video, Hexerico. Let's see. Doing recreational science experiments. Okay. Mark Reeves, good to see you. Tony, cheers from Panama. Oh, good to see you there. Yeah, I'm so excited that I think Google and YouTube say that half of the viewers here are outside of the United States. So we're really a global community, aren't we? Let's see. Perhaps donate a little money to charities or churches your envious friends support, perhaps. First, I heard of 369. Well, check it out. You can get it for about $5 a month or depending on what brand you want, but it's really important. Taking about 1,000, I take about 1,000 to 2,000 milligrams per day, and that has made all the difference. And I know hundreds of clients I've had who have seen their lives improve because of improved prefrontal cortex functioning, being able to think more clearly because they're taking omega 369. Thank you to Agenda 69 for the 369-bit cheer on Twitch. Respect. Appreciate your cheer. That's awesome. It's been a while since got a cheer on Twitch. Tin Top, you're correct. Omegas are found in algae. That's why people harvest fish for their omegas. Good. Yeah, I mean, I know that omega-3 is good for people, because it stands from not only a cellular level, but also from kind of a psychological level and seeing so many people improve their lives. Let's see. Glad I have Hex. Now I can buy pants again. There you go. I was sent from the overworld. I'm just ready to get into Hex. Just found out about it. Put in as much as I can afford and pray for the best. Cool. Congrats. Welcome to the party. Cass Roulette. Hey, good to see you there. I saw your Hex testimonial video and it was awesome. So genuine, so well done. Congratulations on making that Hex challenge. And that will, I'm sure, be included in some of the highlight reels that we'll be putting together for that. I know that there have been so many Hexicans who have made a video to share, the first part of their journey with Hex. I always tell people that you can make a 1 minute to 2 minute testimonial video and tag me on Twitter or put hashtag Hex Challenge. And, even if you haven't been able to buy all the things you ever want to buy in life, even if you have one thing that you're grateful for, and I guess people have been also doing like a Hex Flex thing, but I think the Hex Challenge, even though they're both kind of interchangeable, the Hex Challenge has been more of people explaining how Hex has benefited their mental health, how it's allowed them to be able to do things that they couldn't do before, and to thank Richard and all the people who have been providing education and building community. Anyone else excited for the RH Pancake Swap equivalent? Appreciate all the content from the Hex fam. After I onboard new people, I send them to this space. Well, we appreciate it. Yeah, thank you so much for sending people our way. And yeah, I think so. The Pancake Swap equivalent, if people can tell me what they think that means, is that just the Uniswap copy, basically? I think the automated market makers, and specifically like the bridges that are going to exist, I think that ETH will not be the only thing that will have a bridge. So that's one of my predictions that I haven't necessarily heard a lot of people say or heard people say before. Yeah, and I think the automated market makers, that's what will prove not only the utility, but that's what will literally transport all the value off of Ethereum onto Pulse. So, I mean, I'm not exactly sure what the price of Pulse is going to be. I know I made a prediction, and I based it off of, like a 100x or 1000x return. Check out QuantGang if you want to see that. Dan says, lost all my Bitcoin maxi friends from 2012. None of them want anything to do with me for my interest in Hex. Sorry to hear that. I hope someday they'll come around, but I know that really it's having opposite bags or perceived opposite bags, because crypto is a reflexive system and because different cryptos compete with each other for gains. Even if people are Bitcoin maximalists, they might still dabble in altcoins in order to improve the amount of Bitcoin that they're able to hold. And so in that sense, people get very divisive because they hold investments that they perceive to be a zero sum. And I think a lot of people, especially with a leveraged trading mentality, will probably be more tribalistic and more maximalistic. I do have good news though. Nerd Girl is going to be coming on the show Hex Therapy next week. And so she's one of the experts, I would say, in the entire industry about crypto tribalism. And I know that we will all be looking forward to hearing what she has to say and all the insights that she'll be able to share. Watching this in advance for when PLS takes off, better to learn about Sunwell syndrome early. Good to have you here, Luigi. Yeah, and I mean, Sun Wealth, it can pop up suddenly, of course. Like, for example, at the first Hex meetup, we gave away 1 million Hex. And the value of that now would be, what, $180,000? That can be life-changing for a lot of people. 21 window. I have 0 close friends. Literally, I hang out with my cat. I'm doing fine. Okay, very good. Well, I'm glad to hear you're doing well. Yeah, we'll definitely have a good setup for whales and be able to meet all your needs. That's something we could talk about individually. Like the Wizard of Oz, that's what I was thinking too. If Whales presents, it should be behind the stage so he can slip back in the crowd once he's done. Lots of good ideas there. Spanish is great. We'll need to find that stream. Yeah. Well, it's, like I said, hexstreamers.com. You can find, there's 2 different Spanish channels that I know of. Expensive Taste, good to see you. Hey, hey. I recently put Cream's ultimate strategy into use, except I staked 35% of my bag Quattro Cinco instead of 30%, so effective 105%. Good. I hope that works out for you, and I know that a lot of people are happy splitting up in thirds like that. Omegas are great for you. You don't need to harvest them from fish. Okay. Direct from algae. There you go. Cass Roulette. Thanks, Maddie. Love you, man. Right back at you. It was awesome. Thanks, Cass. Hiroshi. Love you, Maddie. Respect. Appreciate it. Naruto for the win. How's it going, Naruto? Speaking of people who have spoken at the first Hex conference and who we hope to have back, we'll have to message privately, and then we'll be able to get everybody set up who wants to do a talk at the second Hex conference. We'll be asking people to participate in the online and the in-person version, both. Coinrose at 25-cent Hex. What will you do when we flip ETH? And what will you do when we flip Bitcoin? Well, I'm taking suggestions now. They will come around when you have more money than they do. People are different. It's difficult to talk in generalities, right? And so I think certain hexagons, might want to watch out, if gold diggers show up or people who are only friends with you for your money. Having people who genuinely like you for you and who, support your healthy behaviors are definitely healthier friends to have. There are 3 major things which accumulate. Okay. And so that looks familiar from some of the stuff we've been learning from the SENS Foundation and what Richard has spoken on about health and cellular health. How great would it be if they copied BSC tokens too? I'm not sure. That'd be interesting. Maddie, when Hex hits 25 cents, I'll be reaching out to set up your hair appointment. Well, very good. Yeah, I'm already thinking of making plans ahead of time because, it should be a good live stream. Nerd Girl's awesome. I agree. Where did you learn something like that? I'm not sure which. Oh, you're talking to Hiroshi. Inviting Freedom. Good to see you. Despide tu Jefe is the one Wales goes heavy on. Right there you go. We'll need to prepare for Sun Wealth. It still is not sinking in. It does not feel real, like a dream. That's right. So again, those grounding activities are what can help with feeling like it's not real, right? And, in some ways, you are going to be dealing with paper gains. Your emotions might be riding the roller coaster ride of checking the Staker app, checking many times a day and having your mood influenced by that. And so different people can have different strategies for limiting the number of times that they'll check the price, whether that's through their phone's operating system or through self-control by maybe creating a schedule where you have an alarm go off on your phone when you want to check the price at regular intervals so that you're not basing your mood off of it. I've thought it might be cool. Oh, my mouse just went out. It might be cool to have a version of T-Share app that only lets you check the price after you've esteemed yourself. I think that would be a pretty cool development, which would allow people to start packing in positive behaviors right before they do something that often turns out to be a rewarding activity of checking the price and realizing how valuable the hex is that you already have and how fast it's growing. So let me see if I can get this mouse working again. Oh yeah, I would love to get some kicks like Johnny showed off yesterday with Hex and Pulse on them. It'd be really cool. Grounding activities. That's right. And so somebody's recommending that Wills and I need to cook up a meditation app with soothing positive mantras. That sounds like a great idea. 4K meditation app about distancing yourself from electronics. Very good, very good. So let me see if we can share some more resources here about Sun-Well syndrome. So definitely, you know, you're going to have to find what to do with your time. And so that's going to be a personal journey, but it's something that can be guided, right, by certain principles and suggestions, such as trying enough things to figure out what you love and what gives you meaning in your life. And don't think that everything you're going to try is going to turn out great. I think that there's kind of a misnomer or people having a false idea that once they become wealthy, their life will get much easier or that they won't have as many frustrations. And I think that that just depends on how much you're working on yourself. It just depends on how you're managing your mood and your physical health that's going to impact your mental health. People who are exercising, who are sleeping enough, who are not obsessing over the price of Hex, who are staying balanced in their daily activities, might even be following a daily schedule. A lot of people benefit from setting a daily, hourly schedule, or even just having one task that you do the same time every day. Or maybe you put together a schedule of the different Hex live streams that you enjoy, and then you're participating in those consistently and building community. A lot of people I know in the Hex community have taken to doing, art projects, creating businesses. Now, most of the time in crypto, if you create a business, you're going to be losing money compared to just, staying in crypto. But when it comes to your mental health, you are going to need things to do. And so, for example, I've, joined a gym, and I have, appointments scheduled multiple times a week to work out with other people, and then also times when I work out alone, and that gives me time to meditate. A lot of these things that I recommend are things that were a part of healthy lifestyle choices that I've practiced and developed over about 3 or 4 years. And so it's not something you'll learn overnight, but, getting yourself in the right environment with the right people and getting yourself on the right schedule, getting into the routine of high self-care, high self-esteem, high activity level. These are things that a lot of people associate with feeling good and productive, feeling good about themselves, And so that's really what creates, I believe, healthy relationships, is starting with yourself, having a better relationship with yourself. And, that can be as simple as making yourself your favorite meal, because that's one, enjoyable activity that you've created for yourself. It could be as easy as, giving yourself one compliment a day, of starting off with omega-369 once a day, 1,000 to 2,000 milligrams, if your doctor says it's okay, / you're not on blood pressure medicine. Because that's supposed to be part of your normal diet anyway. Or people can eat a can of tuna every other day, or salmon. There's different ways to get omega-3. All these activities, they should, synergize into you having a better relationship with yourself. And then that allows you to have healthier relationships with other people, because your physical, mental, and emotional health is better. It allows you to interact with other people in healthier ways, and to attract other people who are doing healthy activities. The more you can have in common with other people that are doing healthy things, like exercising, eating right, staying active, pursuing hobbies and interests, creating a positive effect on the world, even at a small, or a medium scale, can really be fulfilling to people. Comparing yourself not to other people, but comparing yourself to yourself 1 week ago is another thing I recommend, because other people haven't been through the same struggles that you have, but you have been through the same struggles you have. And so that's a much more honest and fair comparison, to compare yourself to yourself from 1 week ago. And then you can focus on what your weekly progress is. And let's see. What else do we have here? Great words today, sir. Much truth. Maddie has, listen, you should. Right on. I appreciate it. I always ask people, if they didn't have to work 40 plus hours a week, what would you be doing? And why aren't you doing a small portion of that now? Interesting question. More money, more problems is just a joke. Just something rich people say to make poor feel better. I think it depends on the person's environment and how prepared they are mentally for the difference in your environment that you have when you have different amounts of money. So for example, if everything that was rewarding to you, was working for a certain amount of dollars per hour, and then all of a sudden, the price of Hex has gone up so high that you're making way more in interest than you would working any job. Now that's really disconnected you from a reward system that you actually needed basically for survival. So it was like a survival / reward system. And so when people experience not having that struggle in their lives anymore, and being disconnected from that reward and survival system, then it can lead to some strange feelings popping up. And so that's definitely fascinating, and something that we'll continue to talk about kind of in an open fashion. I think, again, some of the suggestions that I've had have been to not upgrade your lifestyle too fast, to be slow in telling loved ones and friends about, how much you've made, and I guess to continue to work on yourself and your healthy behaviors, because that's what will attract new people who have healthy behaviors that will make it easier for you to continue your own, right? Moods are contagious, so are bad habits, right? And so if you're, moving in with somebody or having a close friendship with somebody who has habits that are bad for you, drinking, smoking, being inactive, right? Impulsively spending money, sleep deprivation, right? Like a lot of the things that go into somebody's emotional and mental health. If you're surrounding yourself with people who have more skill deficits in that area, or who have chosen, because part of their environment is unhealthy, then they're experiencing an extension of that. It can be surprising to a lot of people that they can change their own behavior by changing their environment. A lot of times people will blame themselves for their behavior because that's what makes them feel like they're in control of it. So like, I'm responsible for my own behaviors, and my environment can't make me act in a certain way, right? That allows me to feel like I'm in control, but it also is only part of the story. And when people start to acknowledge and work with how their environment reflects their energy, that allows them to be more intentional and more in control of their own behavior. I've seen it hundreds of times in people's lives with my experience as a mental health therapist for 11,000 hours of treating people. Let's see. I've already comfortably settled into my new Hex wealth. No worries for me. Good to hear that, BG Hex. And I'm glad you commented. It's good to see your name here. I liked it when you once called sudden wealth syndrome another name. You called it sudden wealth strength, and it made me get strong about the wealth. Yes, that's right. I think that any abnormal adjective that we can use, right, or label that we can put on somebody, the amount of money that they have in their bank account or in their MetaMask or whatever it is, right? Like that's, that is very much a real thing. And on the other hand, it's something where all that is it's part of, it's a factor in your environment, the amount of financial resources that you have. And as we've discussed, like having a change in the amount of economic energy that you can move, that can create, an adjustment syndrome, basically. But I think that is the main idea behind sudden wealth syndrome, is the difficulty in adjusting to that lifestyle and to those particular emotional and social challenges. So I agree that calling sudden wealth strength, that is acknowledging that the sudden wealth itself isn't good or bad, and that the adjustment can be a positive one. I know for me, it has been extremely positive for me to be able to take a step back and to say, okay, this is how I've been trying to make the world a better place, at the local level, meeting with people one-on-one to talk about therapy topics. And now I have the luxury of being able to speak to a much larger audience, to reach thousands of people a week. And that fills me with joy. And I'm grateful to Hex, to Richard, to the community, and to other people in my environment that have made it possible for me to focus my time and energy in this way. And these streams and this community, right, and the ways that I can pay forward what was paid to me, that does create a lot of meaning. And I think it helps create a balance in my life to where I do have a purpose and a struggle. I know all these graphics, they look beautiful, but there was a great struggle to create them. And I'm also at the same time, I'm upgrading my workstation so I don't have to use a computer that's so many years old. And then maybe I'll be able to crank out content even faster and not have to wait many, many minutes for each image to load. But, as long as we keep challenging ourselves, and then rising to those challenges and then taking on the next challenge with positive energy, I think that is going to allow us to have the amount of struggle that we need in our lives, along with the satisfaction of solving problems that aren't too big and aren't too small. So I think it'll be a strength as much as we can amplify that and to frame that and to practice that, right? I get it, and I never thought money was the ultimate goal. I just wanted enough for free time, and I achieved that. Congrats. Already retired from Hex. You should tweet a testimonial. Yeah, that's a great idea. I think it's easy to trick ourselves into thinking that we have a handle on our massive new wealth. Sometimes that amplifies extreme behaviors we didn't notice until later. That's right. Yes. That's why I think it's such a relevant ongoing topic that we'll continue to cover and check in on, because, you know, if we have another week where Hex doubles or another day where Hex doubles, and we just keep getting that more and more, if we do another, 64x or whatever in the next year, right, things are going to keep changing a lot in some ways and not in others. So people being able to time lock, that's one way that people can prepare for the future by having a plan. For me, I started off with a yearly staking ladder, and then I decided that having a whole year stake coming out all at once wasn't good for me. And so I did quarterly stakes. I broke that up into quarterly stakes, and that kind of gives me a little bit more relief and not having to worry about it. You're a good person. My pleasure. Thanks for saying that. Hex Ranger and Carlo, we appreciate you, Maddie. Love this community. I realize how lucky I am to have found Hex in the first place. That's right. Awesome. Well, it's my pleasure, guys, to be here and to be able to read your comments and talk about this topic. So I think, we've gone over a lot of basics, right, of how you can focus on making sudden wealth a strength instead of a syndrome. People can be building community, creating daily schedules for themselves, building hobbies and interests, educating yourself and others about Hex, practicing not telling everybody in your life about your sudden wealth so you can see how that goes person by person, staying grounded with certain activities such as buying pants 80% off, taking omega 369 to improve your prefrontal cortex, exercising, eating right, getting better sleep, and building healthy relationships, which includes esteeming yourself, improving your self-care, and then finding the right people who are wanting to share healthy behaviors as part of their environment too. Vinay, thank you for the $5 super chat. Dude, you are the most genuine. My pleasure. Thanks, Maddie. Great stream. My pleasure. Sudden wealth strength. What a great idea and phrase. Thank you, Hex Monkey. Hex Monkey's been on the program in the past month. We appreciated having you on. Let's see. I think we must invite big YouTubers to our live stream. It's time to push hard. A few million is enough, but not work. But to be real, that's not considered wealthy these days. Probably need a 50 million net worth to be considered wealthy. Well, and each person has their own standard of living that they want. So, yeah, for those of you who are wondering, of course, I already registered the domain name suddenwealth.health. So maybe that'll be a link to some Hex therapy resource in the future. It's not set up yet, but finding the right significant other is great. It takes a lot of stress away. Good point, Uncle Larry. And with that being said, I really appreciate you guys. Next week, we will have Nerd Girl 007 on Hex Therapy Live. And I'm looking forward to continuing to do more pop-up streams and to keep putting my energy into trying to make this production better, to cover a lot more topics, might start writing articles or doing shorter videos. Who knows? Stay tuned. Go ahead and get your tickets for PulseHex.com conference in Vegas, and catch Quant Gang on Tuesday nights here on this channel. And stake wisely, my friends. Take care.